Hook, imagine these: you finally take a weekend off, head to your quiet lake cabin for some peace, only to have your front door fly open a broken bar and standing there is your whole self-appointed queen bee, barking about rules she doesn't even understand. That's exactly what happened to me, and she had no idea who she just barged in on. I had come up to my family's old lake cabin for the first time in months. It was a modest place, rustic wood walls, creaky floors, and a view of the water so beautiful it could stop your thoughts mid-sentence. It wasn't luxurious, but it was ours, and it was the only corner of my life that felt untouched by deadlines, traffic, and the endless grind of city noise. That weekend, I wasn't alone. I'd invited an old college friend, to someone I hadn't seen in years but always respected. He had gone on to do big things in public service, though he never made a big deal about his title. I just knew him as Mike. He was warm, sharp, and had that steady way of listening that made you feel like your words mattered. We were in the middle of catching up, coffee steaming between us, when the door suddenly slammed open. No knock, no warning, just a loud, angry entrance, and there she was, Karen. Not her real name, of course, but the nickname everyone in the lakeside neighborhood used. Short blonde bob, oversized sunglasses even indoors, and the unmistakable air of someone who thought she was sheriff of the world. She didn't even live in our section of cabins as she chaired the whole across the lake, but that had never stopped her from storming around like she owned everything within a 10-mile radius. "You can't have guests staying here overnight," she barked, pointing one manicured finger at me as though she was writing a citation with it. "Cabin bylaws: no outside parties, no overnight randalls, no exceptions." I blinked, stunned. "Karen, this is my cabin. I grew up here, and Mike's not renter, he's a friend." But she wasn't listening. Her voice rose as she marched deeper inside, scolding us about fire pit regulations, trash cans, and even the color of our deck chairs. My hands started trembling, half from anger, half from the violation of it all. This was my safe space. My late father had built this cabin with his own hands, and now she was standing in it like I was some criminal on trial. What she didn't realize, and what made the entire scene almost surreal, was who was sitting right there at my kitchen table, quietly sipping his coffee. My old friend Mike, calm as ever, observing her meltdown with a kind of detached curiosity. And what Karen had no clue about was that Mike was actually Michael Grant, the state attorney general. Hook. So there I was, standing in my own cabin being lectured by an HOA bully. But the second she turned her finger toward my gusta, that's when everything shifted, because Karen had no idea she was scolding the attorney general of the entire state. Karen's tirade was reaching its peak. She accused me of bringing down property values, and when I tried to speak, she cut me off with a raised hand, like I was a child misbehaving. Finally, her gaze landed on Mike. "And you," she snapped, "whoever you are, you don't belong here. You'll need to pack up and leave immediately. If you think you can just sneak in under the radar, you've got another thing coming. I'll be filing this violation personally." The room went silent. I looked at Mike, almost apologetic, waiting for him to wave it off, to just let it go. Instead, he set his mug down slowly, deliberately. Then he spoke. "Actually," he said, his voice calm but carrying the weight of authority, "I do belong here. I was invited as a guest. And more importantly, I'd like to remind you that entering someone's property without permission is trespassing." Karen's face froze. She laughed, sharp and brittle. "Oh, please, don't lecture me about trespassing. I run this neighborhood." Mike leaned back in his chair, eyes steady. "Ma'am, I'm the Attorney General of this state, and I'm telling you right now you've just committed an unlawful entry." The silence that followed was so heavy you could hear the waves slapping against the dock outside. Karen's mouth fell open. She stammered, trying to laugh it off, but the cracks in her voice betrayed her. "Why, you were joking. That's not funny. You're not really a—" But then he calmly reached into his bag, pulled out his wallet, and placed his ID on the table. The seal glinted in the morning light. Her face drained of color. She staggered back, mumbling something about just trying to enforce the rules. Mike didn't raise his voice, didn't gloat. Instead, He spoke with measured gravity. Hoes have limits. They don't override state law, and they certainly don't justify breaking into people's homes. You've crossed a line today. I strongly suggest you leave this property and reflect on how you've been treating your neighbors. Karen practically tripped over herself rushing out the door. For the first time in years, she had nothing to say. After she left, I sat down across from Mike, heart still racing, and he gave me the kind of look only an old friend could steady, reassuring, reminding me I wasn't powerless. That day taught me something I'll never forget. Bullies thrive on fear, but when you stand your ground or when life puts the right person in your corner, their power collapses. Karen didn't return to the cabin again. Word spread quickly around the lake that she'd had a run-in with the law, though no one knew the details. But neighbors who'd once whispered complaints about her started standing taller, realizing they had rights too. And for me, that weekend wasn't just about reclaiming my peace, it was about remembering that sometimes the battles we face are bigger than ourselves. Sometimes, standing up in your own cabin, for your own dignity, can ripple out and change an entire community. Message to the viewer: no matter how small or isolated you feel, your voice matters. And sometimes the right ally shows up at the perfect moment to remind you that you're stronger than the person trying to tear you down.